Ever feel like you've seen it all? Think again, because today we're diving deep into the top 15 best movies of the 1960s. According to Quentin Tarantino himself, that's right, these razor-sharp picks aren't just classics, they're handpicked by the maestro of movie mayhem. Are you ready to rediscover cinema's coolest decade, one mind-blowing hidden gem at a time? Let's roll film. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. Ever wanted to see the Wild West through a whole new lens? Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is more than a Western. It's an operatic showdown where every bullet, every stare, and every tumbleweed carries the weight of cinematic history. Set against the harsh backdrop of the Civil War, we follow Blondie, Tuco, and Angel Eyes as they crisscross the desert in search of buried gold. But here's the kicker. The lines between good and evil blur so perfectly, you'll find yourself rooting for all three at different times. Director Sergio Leone revolutionized the genre with his masterful widescreen shots, intense close-ups, and that unforgettable pacing. And let's not forget the oral magic. Ennio Morricone's whistling, gunfire, and chanting theme is still sampled and referenced today, giving the film a mythic, larger-than-life quality. Did you know Eastwood's famous poncho was never washed during filming, adding to his rugged authenticity? The film's modest initial U.S. release didn't hint at its future. Over time, its box office haul soared, and it's now seen as a gold standard of cinema. Tarantino himself calls this the greatest directed movie of all time. It's legendary, stylish, and every frame is pure gold. Ready for another masterpiece? Hit next. Psycho, 1960. Are you ready to revisit the motel that changed movie history forever? Psycho is not just a film. It's a seismic event that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and left audiences gasping for breath. Directed by the one and only Alfred Hitchcock, this razor-sharp thriller begins with a simple setup. Marion Crane steals a pile of cash and checks into the gloomy Bates Motel. But nothing can prepare you for the nightmarish spiral that follows, with Norman Bates welcoming her into a world of secrets and shadows. What makes Psycho a true Tarantino favorite is its masterful misdirection and Hitchcock's absolute control over every moment. Fun fact, Hitchcock insisted theaters not admit anyone after the movie began, heightening suspense and keeping audiences on edge. Shot in black and white to bypass censors and keep the budget under $1 million, it became a monster hit, raking in $50 million and proving that horror could be both art and box office gold. That infamous shower scene, 70 camera setups, a screeching violin score, and editing so shocking it's been dissected in film schools ever since. At first, critics were scandalized by the violence and moral ambiguity, but Psycho soon became a blueprint for modern horror. Tarantino calls it timelessly electrifying, and it's inspired everything from Halloween to Scream. Still scared to take a shower alone? You're not the only one? Loving these deep cuts so far? Let's keep the reel rolling. Just say, next. The Great Escape, 1963. Strap in, thrill seekers. The Great Escape is the blueprint for every breakout movie you love today. Imagine this. It's World War II, and a group of Allied prisoners, all experts in their own right, are crammed into an escape-proof Nazi POW camp. The stakes? Freedom or death? Steve McQueen, the King of Cool, leads the charge as the rebellious Virgil Hilts, making that barbed wire motorcycle jump one of cinema's most legendary stunts. He's joined by James Garner's smooth-talking Scrounger and Richard Attenborough's mastermind, creating a trio that makes teamwork look electric. Director John Sturges orchestrates the action like a symphony, with Elmer Bernstein's rousing theme giving every tunnel dig and secret meeting a pulse-pounding urgency. The cast spent months learning to dig real tunnels, adding grit and authenticity to every scene. Behind the scenes, McQueen performed many of his own stunts, sometimes doubling as his own pursuer in the famous motorcycle chase. The film's $4 million budget was a big bet for the time, but it paid off in spades. raking in over $11 million in the U.S. alone and earning a place in pop culture with parodies, homages, and references galore. Initially, critics were mixed. Some called it too long, too boisterous. But Torontino and legions of film fans see it for what it is, a masterclass in tension, camaraderie, and adventure. The spirit of rebellion? Unbeatable. So, ready for the next cinematic classic? Say the word. Blowup, 1966. Let's swing into the groovy heart of 1960s London. Blowup isn't just a murder mystery. It's a psychedelic odyssey through art, illusion, and obsession. Meet Thomas, a hip, jaded fashion photographer whose accidental snapshot might contain evidence of a murder hidden in plain sight. The line between what's real and what's imagined dissolves, and suddenly every photograph becomes a puzzle, every shadow a clue. Italian visionary Michelangelo Antonioni directs with hypnotic style, capturing London's youth culture in all its wild color and restless energy. Vanessa Redgrave is mesmerizing as the mysterious woman who might know more than she lets on, and the jazz score by Herbie Hancock brings modern, cool vibrations to the unfolding drama. Behind the camera, Antonioni was obsessive about visual composition. He had grass spray-painted greener and trees transplanted just for the perfect shot. With a budget of $1.8 million, Blowup surprised everyone by grossing $20 million worldwide and earning the prestigious Palme d'Or at Cannes. It was also a pop culture shocker, pushing the boundaries of on-screen sexuality and ambiguity. Tarantino loves it for its ambiguity and style. This is a film that asks questions without easy answers and lingers long after the credits roll. Ready to keep unraveling cinematic mysteries? Let's keep moving. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. Are you prepared for the film that blew up the rules of Hollywood storytelling? Bonnie and Clyde isn't just about two lovers on the run, it's a bold, bloody, romantic rebellion that set the screen on fire. Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway become legends as Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, Depression-era outlaws whose desperate quest for thrills and freedom turns them into folk heroes and public enemies. Director Arthur Penn blends French New Wave cool with American grit, while the script makes every scene crackle with wit, sexiness, and danger. Supporting turns from Gene Hackman and Estelle Parsons only raised the stakes. Behind the scenes, Beatty had to fight studio skepticism. Warner Brothers thought the movie was too violent, too weird. But that final, bullet-riddled showdown? It became an instant classic, forever changing how violence and anti-heroes could be portrayed. The film cost just $2.5 million, but stormed to over $50 million at the box office. Critics were split at first, some shocked by its brutality, others thrilled by its style. But Tarantino calls it a watershed moment. This is where old Hollywood died and the age of the auteur began. Still hungry for more rebellion on screen? Let's roll into the next pick. The Great Silence, 1968. Ever seen a Western where the snow is as deadly as the gunfire? Sergio Corbucci's The Great Silence is a chilling, subversive twist on the cowboy myth, set not in the blazing desert, but in the frozen, unforgiving mountains. Jean-Louis Trintignant plays Silence, a mute gunslinger whose steely stare says more than 1,000 words. His nemesis? The icily terrifying Klaus Kinski, playing one of the most cold-blooded villains you'll ever see. Corbucci flips the genre's moral compass upside down. Here, the good guys suffer, the bad guys thrive, and hope seems as scarce as warmth. Shot in the Italian Dolomites, the film's stark visuals are matched by Ennio Morricone's haunting, melancholic score. Production was grueling, actors froze on set, and horses struggled in the snow, but the misery only adds to the movie's bleak realism. The Great Silence was considered too radical for its time, especially with its shockingly downbeat ending. It made only a modest dent at the box office, but over the years, its legend grew. Tarantino cites it as a major influence on The Hateful Eight, and you can see why. If you want your westerns with a shot of existential despair, this one's for you. Shall we continue the journey? Targets, 1968. Imagine a film that stares straight into the heart of American violence, decades before it became a cultural talking point. Targets is a razor-sharp, haunting double narrative. On one side, Boris Karloff plays Byron Orlock, a washed-up horror movie star facing the end of an era. On the other, a seemingly average young man becomes a cold, random sniper, terrorizing innocents. Peter Bogdanovich, making his directorial debut, masterfully weaves these threads together, questioning where the real horror lies, in fantasy or reality. Karloff was under contract with Roger Corman and shot all his scenes in just 2 days, but his presence gives the film gravitas and tragedy. Bogdanovich even cast himself, lending an extra layer of meta-commentary. Shot for only $130,000, Targets never made much money, but its legacy only grows. Its climactic drive-in massacre was inspired by real-life tragedies, making the film eerily prescient. Torontino hails it as bold and prophetic, and if you're a fan of horror, thrillers, or just great indie filmmaking, this is a must-see. Not creeped out yet? Ready for another wild ride? Ride in the Whirlwind, 1966. Hold on to your hats, Western fans, because Ride in the Whirlwind strips the genre to its existential bones. 3 cowboys, led by a young Jack Nicholson, are mistaken for outlaws, hunted, and forced to survive in a world that doesn't care if they're guilty or innocent. The tension is almost suffocating. Can you trust anyone, or even yourself, when the desert turns on you? Director Monty Hellman crafts every frame with minimalist poetry, turning Utah's harsh landscape into a psychological battleground. Nicholson co-wrote the script, putting his stamp on every line of dialogue. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew operated with almost no budget, just grit, sweat, and determination. They filmed back-to-back with the shooting, another Hellman-Nicholson gem, making the most of every resource Corman's indie empire could muster. Upon release, the film was virtually ignored, barely seen outside drive-ins and midnight matinees. But Tarantino and cult cinema lovers know it's a hidden gem. Its stripped-down style and existential themes prefigure everything from No Country for Old Men to modern indie westerns. Sometimes less really is more. Ready to discover more buried treasure? Let's move on. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, 1969. Feeling brave? The Bird with the Crystal Plumage will plunge you into a world of mystery and stylish terror. This is the film that announced Dario Argento, a master of horror and suspense on the world stage. American writer Sam Dalmas witnesses a vicious attack through a glass window in Rome, but when he tries to help, he's sucked into a nightmarish hunt for a serial killer. Is he the hunter or the prey? Argento's debut film is a visual feast, dramatic angles, bold colors, and the unnerving sensation that danger lurks behind every surface. With a budget of under $500,000, Argento turned limitations into opportunities. He built suspense with camera movement and sound design, often using the simplest effects for maximum impact. The now famous glass gallery sequence? Pure cinematic genius. The movie was a smash in Italy, grossing billions of lire and igniting a whole new genre, the giallo thriller. Tarantino is a vocal fan, crediting Argento's bravura direction and stylish violence as huge influences. Today, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage stands as a must-see for horror buffs and anyone hungry for a film that keeps you guessing until the last frame. Ready for more pulse-pounding picks? Onward! Point Blank, 1967. Time to enter the neon-lit, acid-tinged underworld of revenge. Point Blank is a cinematic fever dream, part crime saga, part surreal exploration of obsession and betrayal. Lee Marvin plays Walker, a stone-cold antihero who's double-crossed and left for dead, then carves a brutal path through Los Angeles' shadowy corners in search of payback. Director John Boorman, fresh from the British New Wave, brings a bold visual style to the American crime film, fragmented edits, echoing gunshots, and a city that feels both real and hallucinatory. Angie Dickinson adds spark as Walker's conflicted ally, while Keenan Wynn's mysterious figure keeps the tension simmering. Much of the movie was shot on location in now iconic spots like Alcatraz and the LA River, giving the story a gritty, almost documentary feel. With a $2 million budget, Point Blank wasn't an instant hit, but its reputation grew as more viewers discovered its icy cool on late-night TV. Tarantino salutes it as a proto-modern noir, the missing link between classic gangster flicks and today's cerebral thrillers. If you crave style with your vengeance, this film is an absolute must. Still with me, cinephiles? Let's go deeper. Seconds, 1966. How far would you go for a second chance at life? Seconds is a sci-fi nightmare wrapped in existential dread, where the American dream becomes a hall of mirrors. Rock Hudson, known for his romantic comedies, shatters expectations as Arthur Hamilton, a middle-aged man, offered a total body transformation by a shadowy corporation. But when he awakens with a new face and identity, he finds the price of reinvention is far more than he bargained for. Directed by John Frankenheimer and shot in dazzling black and white by James Wong Howe, the film's visuals are a fever dream of wide-angle lenses, tilted frames, and jarring close-ups. Production was daring and unconventional. Hudson went full method, immersing himself in the psychological torment of his character, while Howe's cinematography drew raves from industry peers. Seconds flopped at the box office, its themes and style too strange for 1966 audiences, but it quickly became a cult phenomenon. Today, critics call it a lost classic. Tarantino praises its achingly beautiful unease and its lasting influence on mind-bending sci-fi and horror. If you're a fan of Black Mirror or Brazil, you owe it to yourself to check out this overlooked masterpiece. Let's keep this classic train rolling. If 1968. Welcome to the school where rebellion is not just taught, it's practiced. If explodes onto the screen as a savage satire of British tradition set inside a stifling, hierarchical boarding school. Malcolm McDowell bursts onto the scene as Mick Travis, a student who refuses to bow to authority, leading a surreal uprising that mixes fantasy and reality in shocking, provocative ways. Director Lindsay Anderson channels the spirit of the 1960s, combining kitchen-sink realism with bursts of magical surrealism. The cast, mostly unknowns at the time, bring raw authenticity, and the decision to shoot some scenes in black and white was a creative fix for budget woes that ended up lending the film its unique, dreamlike style. If was controversial from the start, censored in the UK, and decried as dangerous by some critics. But it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, cementing its reputation as a landmark of subversive cinema. Tarantino loves its anarchic spirit. This is a film that inspired everyone from punk rockers to future filmmakers. If you crave movies that punch through the status quo, this one is for you. Still hungry for that next discovery? Let's go. The Dirty Dozen, 1967. Get ready for mayhem, misfits, and maximum action. The Dirty Dozen is the ultimate men-on-a-mission movie. 12 military convicts, led by the hard-as-nails Major Reisman, are given a shot at redemption, infiltrate a Nazi stronghold, and wreak havoc. If they survive, they're free men. If not, well, at least they'll go down swinging. Robert Aldrich directs with manic energy, wrangling a star-studded cast. Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, Donald Sutherland, and more bring personality and punch to every scene. The camaraderie, brawling, and black humor feel ahead of their time. No wonder the film was as much a hangout movie as a war epic. Behind the scenes, the cast bonded on set, with Jim Brown even risking his NFL career to finish filming. With a hefty $5.4 million budget, The Dirty Dozen raked in more than $45 million and became a worldwide sensation. Some critics find it too violent or anarchic, but fans and Tarantino see it as a glorious celebration of outcasts and underdogs. If you love Inglourious Bastards, you're seeing this film's DNA in every frame. Who's ready for more cinematic legends? Le Samurai, 1967. Want to see what cool really looks like? Step into the rain-soaked, neon-lit world of Le Samurai, Jean-Pierre Melville's meditation on loneliness, honor, and existential cool. Alain Delon plays Jeff Costello, a hitman who glides through Paris like a ghost, bound by his own silent code. He barely speaks, but every gesture, every glance, crackles with tension. Melville directs with a minimalist, almost Zen touch, gray palettes, empty rooms, precise framing. The film's opening shot alone, a man lying motionless in bed with a caged bird beside him, sets the tone for a story where action is as quiet as it is deadly. The cast and crew often worked at odd hours to capture the city's ethereal emptiness, and Melville was so obsessed with detail that he designed Costello's entire wardrobe himself. Le Samurai made a muted debut in France, but grew into a cult sensation, especially in the U.S. Tarantino credits it as a key influence on his own work. You'll see echoes of Costello in characters like Vincent Vega and Mr. White. This isn't just a crime film, it's an existential poem, a masterclass in style, and a must-watch for anyone obsessed with the language of cinema. Ready for one last knockout? The Battle of Algiers, 1966. Ready for a war film that feels as urgent and real as today's headlines? The Battle of Algiers is a visceral documentary-style account of the Algerian fight for independence from French colonial rule. Director Gillo Pontecorvo pulls no punches, plunging us into the chaotic streets, alleys, and safe houses of Algiers, where revolution is both a necessity and a tragedy. Shot entirely on location with non-professional actors, the film pulses with authenticity. Pontecorvo and cinematographer Marcello Gatti use handheld cameras and grainy film to create the look and feel of newsreel footage. So convincing that some viewers thought they were watching actual events. Ennio Morricone's pounding score intensifies every scene, turning crowd movements and explosions into a kind of visual symphony. The film was banned in France for years, deemed too controversial. Despite a tiny budget under $1 million, its impact was global. It earned Oscar nominations for Best Foreign Film, Director, and Screenplay. Tarantino calls it raw, essential, and revolutionary, a film that shows both sides of conflict with compassion and honesty. Its influence can be seen everywhere from Zero Dark 30 to The Hurt Locker. And there you have it, 15 towering films of the 1960s, each handpicked by Tarantino and burning with creativity, risk, and timeless cool. How many have you seen? Which are you dying to watch next? Tell me your favorites in the comments below, and don't forget, if you want more journeys into the lost gold mines of cinema, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and share our channel with fellow film fans. The golden age isn't over. It's just getting started. See you at the movies.